a freak, took it a noble on the beach. Just to eat, Louboutins on her feet.
You already know.
Where you get the money for them shoes, girl?
Right back in this bitch.
You hit me on my DM like a fan,
Right back
girl.
up in here.
Did you want me or did you want these bands, girl? Now I know you just another Instagram girl. She almost made me think that all she wants is me. I hit the club and she the first one that I see. Said that she there cause she no promoters in the club.
I got some tissue in my nose just in case anybody's
Let
looking.
my homeboy hit her up. All this ice, I need a freezer. Whip it up, back beater. Whip it up to cedar. Said she love me, don't believe her. Can't be mediocre. 20 on a joker. Fuck her, I don't know her. Yeah, give me face like poker.
Alright, we about to go in, about to go in.
Can't believe
Musical. Let's get it. Let's get it, let's get it. Let's turn this off. What's the deal? What's the deal? What's up, Phoenix Rising? What's up, student teacher? You already know who the fuck it is. I'm on asharenu. We back up in here like we never left. Yeah. Like I said, I got tissue in the right nostril for those who can understand that. So just in case you see it, it's tissue. So don't think it's like something in my nose that's purposely put there. All right. So once again, we back in here. Appreciate everybody for tuning in and watching, as usual. So this is just a brief introduction into the deity Thoth, which I feel is definitely the most important deity to work with at this time, being that he is a lunar deity. And, you know, we just got past the full moon, definitely lunar eclipse. So the moon energy, and again, the effects are still, you know, just because it's over, the effects are still relevant. So this is, again, especially around this time, you know, doing these special events. This is definitely the best deity to work with, hands down. And as we go through this brief introduction, you will find out why. Let's not waste any more time. So first and foremost, Thoth. He can also be called Tahuti, right? So that whole page of notes. Let's go. So one of the other terms he goes by, or one of the other titles he goes by, is Lord of Divine Words. Lord of Divine Words, also the Lord of Books, right? Let us continue. He is from before creation, the Supreme Creator. So as I'm going through these notes, of course, I'm going to give some commentary. He is before creation, Supreme Creator. So first and foremost, right off the bat, we see that he is before creation. So meaning he is literally the most ancient deity there is. There is no deity that predates Thoth. He is the very first, just like he will be the last. But let us continue, right? He created himself by speaking his own name. He created himself by speaking his own name. Remember, he is the Lord of Divine Words. He created himself by speaking his own name. So what is this telling us? Sound becomes matter, right? So all of these principles that we continuously talk about over and over and over and over again, here it is right now in the form of a deity, letting you know what the deal is right off the jump. Let us continue. Thoth invented writing, gambling, stargazing, engineering, geometry, medicine, mathematics, magic spells, and let me see, I was writing kind of fast, and botany, there it is, like botanicus, botany, so like the magical and spiritual properties of the herbs. So let me say it one more time. Thoth invented writing, gambling, stargazing, engineering, geometry, botany, medicine, mathematics, and magical spells. It's a lot of stuff, right? I mean, this is nothing to be played with, because these are the things we are to perfect in this physical life. So while everybody else is out there chasing a dollar, let them do their thing. But what we, as spiritual minded beings, we are here to perfect our writing, our gambling, or our fortune, our stargazing, astrology, astronomy, right? Our engineering, being able to be builders of things, composer of things, right? Geometry, mathematics, right? But more specifically, shapes. The mathematics turning into shapes, advanced mathematics, right? Botany, again, with the spiritual properties of the magical herbs. Medicine, which goes into healing. Mathematics, we always talk about mathematics every single video. And magic spells, basically the ability to enchant the items around you. Enchantment, the art of enchantment. Let us continue. He is the founder of alchemy and is the author of the world's very first book called the Book of Thoth. One more time. He is the founder of alchemy, talking about the elements and manipulating the natural elements of the earth, and is the author of the world's very first book called the Book of Thoth. So the very first book is called the Book of Thoth because he predates creation. If people can even comprehend that, right? Now continuing on, the author of the very first book called the Book of Thoth, a collection of magical spells and rituals so powerful that it had to be hidden away. So these book of spells were so powerful that they had to be hidden away. So once again, we understand that he pretty much embodies the whole spiritual lifestyle is embodied in this one deity. So while everybody's going around the world looking for all these stuff, all you gotta do is work with one deity, the deity that existed before creation, to get your alchemy on point, get your mathematics on point, get your gambling on point, so you don't have no problems, etc., 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 etc. Right? Let us continue. Thoth taught veneration of the spirits, or the worship of the spirits, basically bringing your awareness that everything has a spirit within it and you can communicate with the spirit within all things. He taught that science, the science of spirit. So spirituality, he's also the founder of that, because nobody knew anything about nothing spiritual before he taught it. Let us continue. He invented rules of sacrifice and composed hymns and prayers. So he put the rules and regulation over the veneration of the spirits, the offerings you give them, all this, the whole cycle. Give the offering, you give offering so it communicates with the spirit, then the spirit starts working for you in the quantum world, descending the blessings upon you. So you give the offerings to the spirit then works on your behalf, because now the spirit has some type of energy to work with on your behalf. So the spirit takes the energy that you have given it and start manipulating the quantum world so that you can descend, so that the blessings are descended upon you. Blessings come from above, right? He invented the rules of sacrifice and composed hymns and prayers. So you can say like the book of Psalms is a book of prayers, right? Just as an example. So basically he is the creator of music as well, even though it may not have mentioned that at first, as well as prayers, which are basically just mantras. So he's the creator of music as well as mantras. It's just not everything that we talk about all the time, all embodied into one deity. Let us continue. Thoth taught Osiris the arts of civilization. So, for those who are unfamiliar with the story of Osiris, Osiris is basically the one who was going around the world teaching people that you no longer need to live in the old ways. So Osiris pretty much ushered in the age of spirituality in terms of you don't have to make blood sacrifices anymore. You don't have to do all this wickedness because again, people were ignorant before this time. So Tahuti bestowed the wisdom upon Osiris. Then Osiris taught that wisdom all around the world, which is why his brother Set wanted to kill him and was successful by putting his body into a coffin. And you know the rest of the story. Got thrown into the Nile River. He cut the body up into 14 pieces. The body was found by Isis. She found all of the pieces of his body except his phallus. So she activated her magic, and they did what they did. She got pregnant without him having a phallus, right? Just to give you a brief synopsis of the story. All right. Thoth, a master magician, taught Isis everything he knew. So not only did he teach Osiris, Osiris is the husband of Isis, or Aset, for those who want the original name, Aset and Asar, or Isis and Osiris, same people, same energies. So Thoth, being a master magician, taught Isis everything he knew. So he also taught Isis the ability to conceive a child without a physical phallus, resulting in a miraculous birth. Who else had a miraculous birth? Oh yeah, that's right. Who we call Jesus, right? Jesus also had an immaculate birth, which is magic. All right. Hopefully y'all following along. Let us continue. Thoth is kind, benevolent, patient, and wise, also generous. He is what is considered a cool deity. He calms and soothed. Let me see. He calms and soothes. I was writing so fast, so I just had to quickly get this information out. So it's kind of overlapping. So let me say this in a different way. Thoth is kind, benevolent, patient, wise, and generous. He is what is considered a cool deity. He calms and soothes passioned situations. So he's a cool deity, because on my zombie video, when I was talking about the zombie spirits, I was talking more about the fire spirits or the hot spirits. So Thoth resonates with the cold spirits or the cool spirits. So he's cool. So he's not the type of energy that is aggressive or assertive. He like to chill back, be smooth, you know what I mean? Let you talk, let you speak, you know what I mean? Size you up. He's cool, you know what I mean? He's chill, laid back. He's that type of spirit, right? Just to give a perspective of all this. All right. Only Thoth can subdue or safely subdue a raging goddess threatening to destroy Earth. One more time. Only Thoth can safely subdue a rampaging goddess threatening to destroy Earth. Who else can subdue a raging goddess? This is also the same as Shiva and Kali, or Shiva and Shakti, where Shiva lays his body on the ground because Kali is going crazy. Kali is all about pure chaos, destroying everything. She would destroy the world, but Shiva lays his body under her feet, and before she crushes his body, she snaps out of it. She snaps out of her rampage. And he's also the master of sex. So she's able to get all that sexual frustration out, meaning he knows how to hold his seed, basically not bust his nut until she's satisfied and she can be subdued. So he's also the god or the goddess, right, of sexuality and tantra. They're just saying it in a subtle way. So he is also the deity of tantra. Everything we always talk about, all embodied into one deity. Once again, right? As a befitting shaman, Thoth lives in many realms at once. He lives in many realms at once. So that means he is a astral traveler as well as a shaman. A shaman astral travels. So he is a multi-dimensional being. It just keeps getting greater, greater, and greater, right? Again, this deity exists before creation. That's why there is no other deity who is composed in the way he is. This is what makes him so powerful. All right, let us continue. Where were we? He lives in many realms at once. Okay, he travels among the living, teaching his magical skills. So although he is a multidimensional being, he also travels amongst the living, teaching his magical abilities. So this is also a deity who isn't stingy. This is a deity who doesn't mind sharing his secrets with those who are qualified, those who are alchemists, but we'll get to that a little bit later. So he still is amongst us in spirit, teaching the deities. All right. Now, I said that wrong. He is amongst the humans teaching his magical arts. There we go. Let us continue. He serves. Hold on. No video is complete without the sirens, right? Of course, you know. Just to let you know how real the energy is. So let them go by. It's literally right here, the street, right over there, right? Let them go past. All right. Y'all already know. Y'all should be used to these sirens by now. Whenever we hit the record button, the energy is just intense. So, let's go. Where were we? He serves as the official scribe in the Hall of the Dead. Alright? He serves as the official scribe in the Hall of the Dead. So, for example, just like we've talked about recently, you have to keep your heart as light as a feather. So basically, when a person dies, their heart will be weighed against a feather, the feather that wrote down all of their deeds. So the feather, just like there's deities recording all of your actions, all of your deeds. So the same pen or the same feather that was used to record all of your deeds, that pen or that scribe or that feather will be weighed against your heart. If your heart is heavier than that feather, then you will be devoured. So Thoth is basically he will be present when all this is going on. So if your heart is heavier than a feather, then your soul is devoured and you pretty much have to reincarnate. But if it is lighter than a feather, then you can ascend. So he's pretty much the one observing this whole thing, right? So he is also present. You say when you are making that transition as well. No other deity goes this in depth with their magical abilities because again, there is no other deity like Tahuti or Thoth, and you will not find another deity that's this entwined with all these secret arts and magical arts. Let us continue. He rides the solar boats besides Ra. So basically, he travels with Ra. Like every night, Ra goes into the underworld and he has to fight Apep, which is a giant snake, which is just pure chaos. So every night, and then Ra just represents the sun. So the sun, the sun has to set and it has to rise again. So in mythology, basically, Ra has to go into the underworld every night and fight Apep, which is a giant snake, which represents chaos. And Thoth accompanies Ra in this underworld. So Thoth travels with you in the underworld, the subconscious mind, the astral planes, yada yada yada. Because he's like multi-dimensional being. So he exists in all of these realms. Whether it's the light realm or the dark. He exists in all of those. Let us continue. Alright. Okay, he rides in the solar boat besides Ra and thus lives in the realm of spirit. Let us continue. His name, Tahuti, because again, Thoth is his name as well as Tahuti. His name, Tahuti, is related to Egyptian words indicating moon, measure, ibis, and crystal. One more time. His name, Tahuti, is related to the Egyptian words indicating moon, measure, ibis, and crystal. Ibis is a bird, for those who don't know what ibis is. So the name Tahuti is related to moon, measure, ibis, and crystal. So all of those words are related to Tahuti or Thoth. Again, he is a lunar deity. So he represents all these lunar aspects. Let us continue. The Greeks identified Thoth with Hermes, and Hermes Trismegistus, right? So Thoth or Tahuti is also Hermes in Greek mythology, which has a whole nother, Hermes has a whole nother aspect of himself. We can go into Hermes at another video if necessary. Let us continue. So his favorite people are scribes, secretaries, authors, magicians, shamans, sorcerers, witches, alchemists, occultists, and librarians. So those scribes, secretaries, authors, magicians, shamans, sorcerers, witches, alchemists, occultists, librarians. So I guarantee everybody who's watching this video and who will watch this video fits in that category, at least one of those. You may be an alchemist, you may be an occultist, you may be a scribe, you may be a librarian, so on and so forth. You may be a witch, you may be a sorcerer. I'm pretty sure you fit into one of those categories, to even be in tune with this frequency. Let us continue. Manifestation. In his guise as patron of scribes, Thoth has an ibis head, or a bird head, the head of an ibis. Remember, we always see these images of animal heads with human bodies, right? So an ibis is a bird. It's a certain type of bird which has its own attributes. So if you look up ibis animal totem, you can definitely go deeper into the science of the ibis bird and why he's related to or correlates with the ibis bird. As a master magician, he manifests as a baboon or a monkey. So there's many tarot decks that you see. Actually, let me give you a live example of the magician card. The magician card is the card of Thoth. So let me show you. Actually, I have all my decks here. Let me show you the magician cards in the tarot deck to give y'all a better illustration of what I'm talking about here. So let me pull out the magician cards so that y'all can see a greater view. So give me 1 second. Let me pull out these magician cards. Oh, okay, let's see. Here we go. So here's a magician card in the Thoth deck. And as you see, there is the baboon right there. Right? We also know Hermes is quick on his feet, for those who understand the mythology of Hermes. Right? Hermes has the quick feet. So you see, let me pull this closer. So Hermes with the quick feet, Hermes is super fast. It also represents Mercury, as you see right here, the symbol of Mercury. So Hermes has a quick feet. There's a baboon. Here are the 4 elements. You see the coins, the fire, the Holy Grail, you see the scribe right here. You see the swords, right? And of course you see the staff. I believe that's a staff, right? Exactly. Then you see the Kundalini force at the crown chakra with the wings spreading out, which means activated Kundalini. And as you see with the card, he is a multi-dimensional being. He's multi-dimensional. You see all these dimensions. So he walks through all of the dimensions. So there's the illustration there with the Thoth deck. So this is the best illustration of Tahuti or Thoth. But let me show you how it looks in the Egyptian deck as well. Give me 1 second. Let me pull out the magician card. And I want to take my time with this. And after, and we're almost finished up, because again, this is a brief introduction, so this is not going to be a full-fledged thing. Just to give y'all an introduction, because after this, we're going to be talking about the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. So that's why before we start talking about the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, I want to get y'all familiar with THOTH for those who may not have been familiar or who may not have been fully familiar with them. All right. 1 second. What is this? Here we go. So, here we go. So we pretty much see the same thing, just in Egyptian style. So you see there's multi-dimensions. So you see these images right here. It seems like he's walking through dimensions. Let me put this closer up so you can get a greater look. So here he is with the ibis head, the head of an ibis. You see the crescent moon. There's a crescent moon. See, here's the earth right here, making him a multi-dimensional being before creation. And you see the cosmos, right? And of course you see the ascended wings representing the awakened Kundalini, which I showed in a previous video, if y'all seen that. Right? Let y'all see that a little bit more. There you go. Now let me show you the magician and the crow's deck. One second. So definitely after this, there should be no reason why anyone shouldn't work with this deity, right? Here's the magician card and the crow's deck. You see, it says sorcerer, alchemist. Is that not what we just described? There it is. Sorcerer, alchemist, which represents, there you see the full moon. See the full moon in the background. You see the bird, and it's as if the bird is traveling through dimensions. The complete blackness, which represents before creation. So you really don't see much of anything because it represents before creation. Then you see the bird, but it seems like the bird is crystallized, right? So this isn't like an earthly bird. This is a celestial bird traveling dimensions. So this is his representation in the crow's deck. And lastly, let me show you his representation in the goddess deck, which is going, in this, he's going to be represented as a woman in the goddess deck. But let us see what woman. I think is it Isis? Yeah, it is Isis. Yeah. So here it is. So here's Isis, and remember he taught Isis everything he knew, right? So here you go, right here. You see magic, all right? So you see she got the full moon, she got the bird. She's in deep meditation with the torches, activating her magicianship, right? Activating that magic, right? In full meditation and concentration, doing her thing. So there you go. So those are his representations. Now, let us continue the description. We almost out of here again. We're not going to take up too much time before we get into the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. So it's like 12 chapters. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth is like 12 chapters. So I may do a video per chapter. So it'll be maybe 12 videos. Because I don't, trying to do the whole thing at once, I think it'd be a little bit too overwhelming. That can take hours. But, so I'll break it up into smaller parts, just to make it easier so you can get to exactly where you're trying to get to. So let us continue the description. So where were we? Okay. As a master magician, he manifests as a baboon. Although ibis and baboon are his most common forms, Thoth is a master shapeshifter. He can be anything or anyone. So now we're getting into the arts of shapeshifting. He can be anything or anyone because he is a master shapeshifter. Right? And lastly, his attributes are basically his symbols. So if you want to connect with this deity, you will connect with him through an ink pot. So you got the ink pot, you got the palette, you got the ankh, and you got the scepter. Those are his symbols. So the symbol of the ankh connects you with Tahuti. A scepter. For those who are unfamiliar with the scepter, that is what I just showed you. Hold on. This is a scepter. This staff right here, if y'all see this is a scepter. For those who didn't know. So these are like items that you will put on an altar if you wanted to build an altar, to channel his energy, for example. So once again, so the items that attracts Tahuti is an ink pot, a palette, a ankh, or a scepter. His consorts or his wives are Mayat and Sheshet. Seshet. Mayat and Sheshet. Sheshet, however you say that, right? Are identified as Thoth's wives. So he has two wives. You know what I mean? So he's definitely doing a damn thing. Lastly, his spiritual allies, meaning these deities work harmoniously with Tahuti. So you can also work with these deities at the same time or combine them in pretty much, this is alchemy. You can combine many different energies at the same time. So the energies that work well with Tahuti or Thoth are Hathor, of course, his two wives that I just mentioned, as well as Hathor and Isis, of course. So you can utilize Hathor, Isis, Mayat, or Sheshet. Sheshet, it's just, these words are kind of hard to pronounce. So you can work with any of these four deities. They all work harmoniously with the energy of Thoth. And, of course, the planet that he resonates with, of course, is the moon. What are his special days? His special days are Thoth rules the equinoxes. So all of the equinoxes is his energy. That's when it's best to utilize the energy. Of course, the bird is the ibis, and of course, the animal is the baboon. And let me see. His color is white. All right. So there you go. So one more time. So I'm just gonna read it. I'm just gonna read the whole thing without stopping, so y'all can get a true understanding before we check up out of here. So lastly, Thoth / Tahuti, Lord of divine words, Lord of books. He is from before creation, supreme creator. He created himself by speaking his own name. Thoth invented writing, gambling, stargazing, engineering, geometry, botany, medicine, mathematics, and magic spells. He is the founder of alchemy and is the author of the world's very first book called the Book of Thoth, a collection of magical spells and rituals so powerful that it had to be hidden away. Thoth taught veneration of the spirits. He invented rules of sacrifice and composed hymns and prayers. Thoth taught Osiris the arts of civilization. Thoth, a master magician, taught Isis everything he knew. Thoth is kind, benevolent, patient, wise, and generous. He is what is considered a cool deity. He's calm and soothes passionate situations. Only Thoth can safely subdue a rampaging goddess threatening to destroy Earth. As a befitting shaman, Thoth lives in many realms at once. He travels amongst the living, teaching his magical skills. He serves as the official scribe in the Hall of the Dead. He rides the solar boat besides Ra, and thus lives in the realm of the spirit. His name Tahuti is related to the Egyptian words indicating moon, measure, ibis, and crystal. The Greeks identified Thoth with Hermes and Hermes Trismegistus, Favored people, scribes, secretaries, authors, magicians, shamans, sorcerers, witches, alchemists, occultists, and librarians. Manifestations. In his guise as a patron of scribes, Thoth has a ibis head. As a master magician, he manifests as a baboon. Although ibis and baboon are his most common forms, Thoth is a master shapeshifter. He can be anything or anyone. Attribute: inkpot, palette, ankh, scepter, consorts, mayat, Sesek are identified as Thoth's wives. Spirit allies: Hathor, Mayat, Isis, Sesek. Planet, the moon, days, Thoth rules the equinoxes. Bird, ibis, animal, baboon, color, white. So, there we go. Let me pick these up. All right. So, for anybody that was wondering about the energy of Thoth, should they work with him, should they not work with him, there's his brief description. So there you go. So for the next maybe about 10 to 12 videos, we're going to be talking about the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, so we can get a thorough understanding of magic, alchemy, sorcery, and all the things that's written within this text, this source material text directly from Thoth himself. This is pretty much like the Emerald Tablets of Thoth is like an autobiography of Thoth, essentially, for those who may not know. So for the next, 10, 12 videos, we're going to be talking about that. So I think that does justice. I think that does enough justice. So y'all definitely hit me with any questions you may have before we check out. And we move on to the next video, right? So again, here are my notes. All right, so let me go through these comments. All right. So I think I answered that. How can you use this energy? I pretty much answered that for the most part. You can either create an altar with the attributes that he like. You know what I mean? You can directly you can chant his name outwardly, inwardly. You can work with the colors on the altar. You know what I mean? However you choose to work with spirit is up to you. You know what I mean? All right. So do many consider him as Lucifer also? You can say that. You can definitely say that. But, that's a lower form. You know what I mean? Because, again, people associate Lucifer with the devil and all this Bible talk. So this is before that. This is before there was a such thing as a devil. He predates all of that. So you can say he doesn't really correlate with Lucifer because he predates Lucifer. He even predates so-called God because he was here before creation. You know what I mean? So, or you can say he was the first creation, but he created himself. So he's a self-created deity. He created himself. So there we go. Thoth corresponds with Chokmah on the Kabbalah. Yes, he definitely resonates with the Sephiroth of Chokmah, which is the second spear on the Tree of Life, which represents wisdom. Can somebody learn how to shapeshift physically? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's shamanism. That's what shamanism is, for those who don't know. Does Thoth and Ra's energy work well together? Also, is there a representation of Thoth in the Greek pantheon and angelic pantheon? In the Greek pantheon, he's Hermes. I'm not sure about the angelic pantheon, but in the Greek pantheon, he's Hermes. So check out Hermes. And does Ra and Thoth energy work together? Well, in the mythology, Thoth is with Ra. So they definitely, you have to find out for yourself. You see for yourself. I definitely encourage everybody to conduct their own experiments. But in the mythology, they work together. So I don't think Thoth can work with any deity. Because again, he's self-created and he predates all this stuff anyway. So he probably could work with any deity. But the deities you really want to work with first is the deities that I mentioned. Him with the women. So obviously, he likes the women. He's very fond of women. So so work with the women. There you go. Also, you mentioned a few months back that the Thoth deck corresponds with Sirius. Can you say more, please? All right. So basically, when Aleister Crowley created this deck, this is Aleister Crowley's deck. You know, hopefully people know who that is. You know what I mean? So when Aleister Crowley created this deck, he created. I guess I should tell the story. You know, at least some brief. Basically, this deck was created with sex magic. Aleister Crowley drew. He drew these outlines. Then he had a partner. His partner, I believe her name was Lady Francis. Lady Francis. She painted the cards. He drew like the outline of the cards, and Lady Francis painted the cards. They were engaging in sex magic. So Aleister Crowley and Lady Francis, and again, I may be saying her name wrong, but you can do your own research. They engaged in sex magic, and from the sexual fluids that were generated from the sex magic, they were fused into the paint. So they had sex magic, all the liquids that was generated from the sexual act was mixed into the paint, and she painted the images with that, with the sexual fluids, right? So this deck was built off of the rising of Kundalini energy. Now the correlation it has with Sirius is, again, you have to, read the Book of Thoth, which is Aleister Crowley's book about this deck. So if you want to better understand this deck, there's a book called the Book of Thoth written by Aleister Crowley, which explains in depth about how this deck, how the deck actually works and how it's connected with the universe and Sirius. So it's all correspondences, So again, this resonates with the correspondence or the frequency of Sirius based off of the vibrational. You see how vibrant the images are? The reason why these images are so vibrant is because it resonates with a higher frequency than any other deck, any other tarot deck. You can say this is the highest frequency tarot deck. But you have to tame the imagery. This is a very, very powerful deck. Some people can't really, tame the energy of the deck because it's a very, very, look at these images, very, very powerful deck because it's filled with so much symbolism. So it's a lot that you see in this picture, for example, but it's a lot that you don't see. It's a lot that you see, it's a lot that you don't see. There's many, many secrets contained within these cards, within this particular deck. That's why these cards are also huge. This is not the standard size for tarot decks. So obviously, this specific size of tarot cards were specifically for magical workings, for meditation and all that. Because again, look at this compared to the standard deck. So this is the standard size. So you see the differences. So this was used. You can summon spirits with this deck. You can channel the deities or the spirits of Sirius utilizing this deck because that's the way it was designed, right? And again, I don't want to go over people's head. He just so happened to ask that question. I didn't really want to go into that, but that's again, that I have to explain a lot more to make that point clear. All right, so here's the card of the moon. This will give you a feel for the deck for those who may not have seen the cards before. Just giving you a feel for the deck and the energy. All right, and we have just entered the moon time. For all my people that's in tune with the planetary energies, we just entered into the moon time. Talking about Tahuti, so we write in alignment. See, I didn't necessarily plan this either. It just so happened that's just the way it works, right? All right, so again, just giving people a feel of the deck. Hopefully, that gave you further insight. All right. What else we got? In the Goetia, they talk about the Damien person and how he's Horus. I've heard Thoth is also a Damien and works with darker energies. Again, that's all later day. The Goetia is later day. You know what I mean? We're talking about the beginnings. All that happened after. That's what I think, I don't know if I said in this video or the last video, because I'm doing these videos back to back, but what I said was, no, it was the last video. The word demon or Damien just means spirit. It was religious-minded people who wanted to religify everything. So anything that doesn't resonate with Christianity or religion is demonic. So they put that demonic word and energy on anything that's not Christian. That's just what they did. That's what they continue to do. That's just how they work. That's just how they built. You know what I mean? So before we even get into the 72 Goetia, because again, that's later day, but we're talking about the first. We're talking about the Egyptian. We're talking about the Atlantean information. The 72 Goetia didn't even exist at this time. So, you know what I mean? So we don't even really need to talk about a newer variation of the energy. So that's, you can say that's a lower form of the energy. In all honesty, that's a lower form. That's why I'm speaking about the highest form. I'm talking about Tahuti or Thoth in its most purest state, as opposed to him being demonized by later day or early Christians, basically. Early Christians put that demonic stuff on pretty much everything. Again, just do your history on Christianity. This is just what they do. You know what I mean? So, there we go. No doubt. Okay. There we go. There we go. What is it? Freda Harris. So she called herself Lady Francis. So there we go. So that's her actual name for those who want to know. Freda Harris, but she calls herself Lady Francis. Do a live stream on Atlantis and Lemuria. Well, again, before we get into all that, we're definitely going to deal with the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. So we're going to get into Atlantis because within the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, it talks about Atlantis. So we're going to definitely deal with Atlantis as we get into the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. So this is just an introduction. This is just a build up to get people familiar with the energy that we're going to go into. Again, just for this time. Again, we're dealing with the lunar eclipse, the full moon, all this. Tahuti is a lunar deity. He resonates with the moon. So this is the perfect time to get in tune with this frequency if you are not already. So again, so for the next 10, 12 videos, we're going to be talking about each chapter of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Because again, it's a lot of information composed into one book. So again, instead of me just making one video about the Emerald Tablets, which could take hours upon hours upon hours, we're just going to break it up into sections to make it, more bearable. So what I also want to do, lastly, before we check out of here, let me make sure I picked up all the cards. A couple of them kind of failed. All right. So before we check up out of here, I definitely want to finish it up with a reading directly from Tahuti. All right. So let's channel in Tahuti and see what he got to say through the tarot. Right. All right. So let's ring the bell, cleanse the energy, yada yada yada. I already know how it go. Spinning this shit. All right. So let's channel Tahuti right now. Let's see what he got to say. This more so about how to properly work with his energy and all that. Any magical advice, things of that nature. What he got to say. So let's bring him in. Let me see. So let's light the flame. So I'm gonna chant Tahuti a couple times on my mind while I stare into the flame. All right. So let's do it. Let me shuffle this one. All right. Here we go. All right. First card. Second card. Third card. All right, get all this. So we got the sun, the Ten of Wands, the Three of Cups. So we got the Sun, oppression, and abundance. So these are like polarity, because this is the fire element, this is the water element. So these are like opposites. Then you have the Sun. So let's bring it all together. All right, so we'll start with the Sun. Give you a good look on this. So the Sun is coming up as a representation of, it's pretty much just letting us know that yes, his energy can harmonize with any other deity. So that's first and foremost. So that's the first thing that he's letting us know. Like, yeah, I can work harmoniously with any other energy. So he pretty much, he's like the number 0. You put 0 behind any number, it pretty much becomes that number. So 10 reduces back to 1, 20 reduces back to 2, 30 reduces back to 3, so on and so forth, right? So the 9, 39 reduces back to 3, 49 reduces back to 4, right? So whatever energy that you pair him with, he amplifies that energy. Even though you can work with him by himself, but if you pair him with another energy, he pretty much amplifies that other energy. Versus they amplifying his energy, he amplifies their energy. So if you want to work with him with another deity, he will amplify their energy. So for example, somebody asked me, can you work with Ra? Yeah, you can definitely work with Ra, and he will amplify the energy of Ra. Second card, oppression. So now we're dealing with the energy of Saturn and a degree of Sagittarius. So we know Saturn is all about constraint, discipline, you know what I mean? Things like that. You know, being orderly in all your things. Sagittarius wants to be free. So we got Saturn like restraining the energy of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is just trying to shoot everywhere. So basically you see this fire is trying to escape from all directions. But we got Saturn. So you can say Saturn is these two long pillars. Sagittarius is all these mini pillars, or these blue and white pillars. So this energy is like trying to burst and trying to expand, but they're being blocked by those two pillars in front, which is the energy of Saturn. So that's basically, in a nutshell, what this is letting us know, that like we all have like this bursting energy to explore. You know, you said the astral world, or get out here and be scientists and alchemists, so on and so forth. But we always feel some type of oppression because we are in the earthly realm, or the hellish worlds, right? So we're just bursting to explore. We want to do all these things. But we also have to deal with being in these fleshly bodies, which can appear to be our oppression. Man, I'm only limited to that 24-hour clock. I can only do so much. I got all these other responsibilities. How am I supposed to, balance all my spiritual work with my physical life? You know what I mean? That may be a little challenging. So whatever the case may be, let me give you the card one more time. Whatever it is that's oppressing you, because you feel the flame within. We all feel that flame within. But we got them two pillars, them two obstacles in the way, that negative and that positive charge, that's keeping it constrained. So how does Saturn and Sagittarius, how can these energies work together harmoniously? How can they work together? So you can say it like this. Saturn and Sagittarius can work together in the sense of Saturn will regulate the energy of Sagittarius. Although Sagittarius doesn't like to be regulated, but Saturn understands the necessity that is necessary to regulate this bursting flame, because if this energy is not regulated, it will burn up the whole planet. So it needs to be released a little at a time. So basically, in other words, so whenever we're doing this, it's just working with a little energy at a time. So you may just want to start off working with Thoth by himself, right? To get familiar with his energy. Even though you want to do this. Again, we all want to do all these miraculous things. But let's put that to the side. So basically what he's saying is, let's put all the big stuff to the side for a minute. Let's start with the basics. Let's start with the foundation. Let's organize our thoughts. before we start thinking about what's possible with psychic abilities and all that, telekinesis, telepathy, clairvoyance, clairaudience, so on and so forth. Let's chill for a minute. I know we all want to unlock our hidden potential, raise a kundalini, all that. No problem. But let's take it a step at a time. That's another reason why I want to do one video at a time instead of talking about the whole Emerald Towers of Thoth in one video. So basically, it's just regulating the speed of the flames that are being, that's coming from the passion. We are all passionate beings, especially, if you're super passionate about your spirituality, about your way of life, that flame never quenches. You got this burning desire to be the best that you can be and to explore, to your heart's content. So you just letting take it easy, slow down. We got all day. You know what I mean? The way he tells time, the way he views time is way more different than the way we perceive time. We always feel like we're in a rush. That's by programming. We always feel like we're in a rush. We gotta do it now. We gotta do it now. We gotta do it right now. This week we gotta have the money in our pocket right now. We gotta have this right now. So we're just in this hyper speed reality, or it appears to be that way. And he's just letting it be known that appearances can be deceiving. Although it appears that you are being oppressed because you're limited. And your time may be limited, your space may be limited. You know what I mean? It may be some type of limitations. Don't worry about it. Chill. Remember, he is a cool deity. He's kind, he's chill. So he's basically saying, like, yo, chill. I know you want to burst open and explore all these things, but take your time with it. Take your time with it. There's no need to rush. Even though it appears to be that way, there's truly no need to rush, because the more you try to push and rush, the more you're going to oppress yourself. You're going to place yourself deeper and deeper into your own self-created prison. The more you try to push and shove and have your way, because your sword is just swinging wildly. It's like this wild sword that's just cutting off everybody's head. By the time you stop, you done killed everybody, or you done burnt up the whole land, the same land that you were supposed to plant these seeds and fertilize the soil. You can destroy the whole process because your energy is so ready to just burst out and just be who you already know that you are. We just saying that take your time, be cool, be still. We ain't going nowhere. You got plenty of time, even though it don't seems like that. The rent got to be paid, this got to be paid, we got bills. It seems like things is always hectic all the time, but he's just letting it be known it's not the case. Appearances can be very deceiving. Take your time. Lastly, abundance. Because once we get it through our head that time is an illusion as we know it, we start to see the vastness and the depths of what we're truly capable of. We start to perceive those abundance when we slow our energy down. Because you see, this is Mercury, that's a symbol of Mercury, going into the degree of, if you can see it right there, that is the symbol of Cancer. I believe that's Cancer, right? Yeah, Cancer. You see that 6 and that 9 right there for those who may not see it. The 6 and the 9. So you got Mercury in a degree of Cancer. So we know Mercury is all about communication. Cancer is all about perfecting your home life. So, communications, speed, all these things. Mercury likes to move fast, but Cancer likes to move a little bit slower. So Cancer is responsible for all these waterfalls. You could say Mercury is responsible for the grapes. Right? So in other words, the abundance or the gifts of the land, the gifts of the earth can be found if we understand time and the cycles. In other words, the greater cycles, the seasons. Get off of the 24-hour clock and start thinking more so in seasons or equinoxes, full moon, new moon. We start to tell time using the stars. Remember, he is the stargazer. He invented stargazing, astrology, right? Basically letting us know that there is a different way to tell time other than utilizing the sun. So remember, the sun was the first card. So you can say that's kind of where we was with the 24-hour clock. But you don't see the stars in the daytime. So to be a stargazer, you can't see the stars when the sun is up. So once the sun goes down, you can see the stars again, and you can tell time gazing at the stars. So we can tell time gazing at the sun, and we can also tell time gazing at the stars. So he's just letting it be known, because he's a lunar deity, once again, that we don't have to limit ourselves to this 24-hour clock. We can become stargazers so that we can start to tell time from the greater perspective. Again, equinoxes, seasons. We can, you can predict things and see things before they happen when you are a stargazer. Because when you are a stargazer, it's like you are a forecaster. You are able to make predictions because you know the cycles of the earth as well as the cycles of space and time, which are one and the same. So there we go. So hopefully that made sense. All right. So with that, again, unless anybody has any questions, we're going to get up out of here. I'm going to continue my studies. And I'm going to give you video by video by video breaking down the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. So hopefully y'all ready. Hopefully y'all prepared. We're going to keep everything in motion. All right. Sorry about that. Again, received a phone call. Apologies. All right, but we about to check out anyway. Again, unless anybody has any questions. All right. Any books you would recommend to learn more about Thoth and the Emerald Tablets? Well, that is the name of the book. The name of the book is called The Emerald Tablets of Thoth. That is a book. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth, as well as the Kabbalion. So the Emerald Tablets of Thoth and the Kabbalion. And again, there is other books. This, I don't remember the name, but you can definitely just type in books written by Thoth. You can see all of his works. All right. You see the energy? I definitely see the energy. The ice cream man does drive away evil. That's what's up. How should we talk to demons? It's the same way you would talk to spirits. Same way, there is no difference. We don't have to look at deities as the same way you will connect with Tahuti. You can connect with whatever deity you want to connect with, but you have to know the name of it. What deity are you trying to connect with? What demon are you trying to connect with? You can't just say demons. What demon? Give me a name. You have to give me a name, because each name will determine how you connect with it. But do you even have a name? So you're teaching about the Hermetic principles, not necessarily. I'm not necessarily talking about the 7 universal laws, not necessarily. But yeah, that is the Kabbalion. The Kabbalion talks about the 7 universal laws, but the Emerald Tablets of Thoth is more so like a autobiography of Tahuti or Thoth. So he really doesn't necessarily go into the 7 universal laws in the Emerald Tablets. It's more in depth, than the Kabbalion. Alright, so if you have a name for the demon that you're trying to work with, the description should tell you how to connect with that deity. Why? Because you're talking about the 72 Goetia. For whatever reason, the 72 Goetia gives you an image of each deity. It gives you an image. So all you have to do is visualize the image of the deity. You already have the image. Just imagine the image and chant the name in your mind. You know what I mean? That's all you got to do. And again, they all also have sigils. Create the sigil. Chant the name. Visualize the image. You know what I mean? Like each of the 72 Goetia has a seal or a symbol or a sigil. You have to create the sigil. Charge the sigil with your energy. Put it on your altar. You can write the name on it. You can do it however you want to do it, but you have to create the sigil. All right. Joshua gave a $5 donation. I appreciate you, big homie. You know what I mean? We definitely putting in this work, and we're not gonna stop. We're not gonna stop. You know what I mean? We don't stop till the cash get dropped. You know what I mean? So I appreciate you, big homie. We're gonna keep it going. We're keeping it going, man. All right. What about the Quran, since it corresponds with the moon spirit? Well, yeah, you definitely have a law, which is a moon deity, and you have a lot, which they don't worship. They only worship the masculine version. And I would say, if you really want to know about that, connect with a lot, because she predates the religion of Islam. Not Islam itself. Islam is mathematics, but the religion of Islam worships Allah. But if you really want to connect with real Islam before the religion, connect with Allat, 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 which is the feminine version of Allah, which was destroyed when when the religion of Islam was created. Right there, you go. So, all right. How is it we can work with a deity? I just explained that. You have to create the sigil, chant the name, and visualize the image. All right. J Flower has a question. Hecate is Hermes' wife, right? Who is Hecate in Egyptian time? Yes. So each deity has a correspondence in different pantheons, right? So if you're asking about Hecate, who is, you can say, the goddess of the witches, who's the goddess of witchcraft, right? That means that who is the goddess of witchcraft in the Egyptian pantheon? You can say Isis, right? So Isis can correspond with Hecate. So definitely, and Isis is already connected to Thoth. So if you want to work with witchcraft, that's Isis. Isis is the goddess of magic. So anything that involves magic is all Isis. All right. Don't all religions come from the Emerald Tablets? It's just man changing things to benefit them and control the masses. You can say that, but the Emerald Tablets of Thoth were not created to create religion. That wasn't the point. They may have used the truth out of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. They may have used truth or truths from the tablets, but the tablets were not necessarily the blueprints for religion. The tablets were the blueprints for the soul. When you read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, it connects with your soul. It's for the individual to read. It's not necessarily for a collective. Everybody is not going to understand the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, just like everybody don't understand the Bible and the Quran. It's not really for the masses. So it was never, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth is not really for the masses, because the masses will not understand the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Remember, his favorite people, one more time, scribes, secretaries, authors, magicians, shamans, sorcerers, witches, alchemists, occultists, and librarians. So if you don't fit under that umbrella, then you probably would not even comprehend the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. It only speaks to a certain type of person, to look beyond the religion and to look into the occultism that he represents. Right? So there you go. You got to look beyond the religion. But they created a religion to make them understand and also to control the people. It's really, again, like I don't really like to use they. You know, they created religion. Who, you know, they can do whatever they want to do, but it has nothing to do with you. They can create anything, but it has nothing to do with you. They're not stopping you from working your magic, just like they're not stopping me from working my magic, and they're not stopping any other alchemists or occultists. So we really don't need to mention them, because it's not stopping us now. Nobody's stopping you from reading the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Nobody's stopping you from working with Thoth. Nobody's stopping you from activating your powers. Right? You're not being stopped. There may be a sense of oppression, like we just said, like we just saw in the reading, but nobody's stopping it. So they can do whatever they want to do. They can create whatever they want to create, but it is not going to stop you. So therefore, there's no need to even mention them, or whatever they did or didn't do, or what their intentions was, is irrelevant, because you can do what it is that you're supposed to do right now. Right? All right. So there we go. So we're going to get up out of here. Thoth wants to help you transcend bondage. Absolutely. You were absolutely right about that. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. That's why we're not really, there's no need to talk about anything else, like anything beyond what he written with his own pen. So the Emerald Tablets of Thoth is Thoth's pen. So we're going to study Thoth's pen, right? So we're going to study his direct pen and see where it leads, right? So, so for the next couple of days, I'm not sure how long it's going to take for me to get through this whole thing. But we're gonna however long it takes is however long it's gonna take. But we're gonna do it chapter by chapter, and we're gonna keep it pushing. So till next time, I'll get back at Shaw. All right. Well, let me answer this last question. What's my favorite book on the occult? The Amazing Secrets of the Yogi. Hands down, The Amazing Secrets of the Yogi. So there you go. So we're gonna get up out of here. Peace, Hotep. We out.